calls. Okay, glad that wasn't recorded. Whole world knowing.
And it's just the way
Making
it works
some
now.
butternut soup, in case anyone's like turning into a cooking show. And then you put the butternut soup into the microwave. It's cooking with Maeve. Okay, right. I think we're just waiting for.
We could record those, put out a series.
Well, Mia knows cooking with Maeve is literally just putting stuff in the microwave right now because of the time difference. I'm like completely, everything is shifted. So I'm like, this is dinner time, right? For me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm having calls and stuff after this call. So it's like, if I don't eat now, you don't eat.
Yeah, well, Shanola,
No.
guys, I'm sorry. Now I'm really hooked on it. But when I'm in the UK, and particularly in summertime, I just keep my computer is on US time. And I pretty much live on US time. Although when I have to make meetings, I do get a little bit confused about what day and what time it is. But because it's light, I don't know if you have the same. Well, you're in winter now, though, aren't you?
Me or Ireland?
Yeah.
Ireland's in summer.
No, you're not in Ireland.
Oh no,
And you're
I'm not.
pretty low, pretty far. So it gets dark early, right?
So it's like winter.
It's dark
for you,
right now.
Right? Because I was going to say, for the Irish girls, it's I mean, you're not doing it this probably the same amount of time as Maeve is, but that's what I used to do. And because it doesn't get dark till almost midnight, it feels like it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it's 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, it's really bright here now in the summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not dark.
Right, guys, we've got enough people here. We've got capacity.
Okay.
Let's go. I'm very happy to see everybody here, and I'm very impressed with all the work that I've been seeing. I think that right now, let's do our usual updates and action points. I know for a fact that there's going to be some updates in terms of testing that I need to speak to, for example, Eleni, James and Jason, and then Mia and Vinny as well. So maybe we can schedule some calls after this. But let's start with up at the top. We've got Nick and Jack.
Yeah, so we went to the testing meeting yesterday. Our form is, again, it's completed, but we just have to meet with, get some sort of SME review and just finish up and clean up the questions, and then we can move on to testing.
So I spoke to Caroline about that SME review, and we're having, it's hot, sorry.
So the thing about that, since Maeve I talked to you is, I also, the woman who's head of family law, education services or something at CPCS did email me first thing this morning after I spoke to you, and she says the two people she thought of there are now juvenile court judges, so they're out of the picture. But she says just to let us know that she hasn't forgotten about us. She's still looking and she still thinks it's important. So I think the thing to take away from this, and we'd maybe talk about on Monday, is that as we're going through our forms list, is maybe we should identify SMEs, particularly if we're looking at family law, like that should be part of our decisions about the forms we use.
I think because of the struggle that we've had with, marriage without delay is a unique one, but the CRA ones, we're really struggling to find SMEs here, and it's causing a blockage. So I'm not too sure how we proceed to get you guys, the review that you need. And it is so important.
It looks like Children's Law Center lists CRAs on their website. I don't really know anyone there.
That was Jessica Barry who did that stuff. And I did reach out to Perry Lawrence. Oh, yeah. And she knows that we're looking for people. She says the problem is at Children's Law Center, they're totally swamped with cases. And they keep saying, why don't you go to CPCS? They're the ones who do these. And so I am at CPCS. There's also 2 authors who've written Kids in the Law. I'm about to email them. there's a woman at juvenile court I talked to years. I mean, I'm just trying to spread, at this point, I'm just like reaching out as far and wide as I can. Jamie gave me a clue. That person doesn't do CRAs. Sandy Lundy told me somebody at CPCS who never got back to me. You know, it's just like, just
difficult to find someone.
Yeah, I mean, we will find somebody.
This?
It's just taking time. That's all.
Okay.
And this is what Matt Brooks warned about, is like, if people in, you know, the communities that do this work don't give their input, they might not like the result, and then they're gonna
sometimes that's okay, you know. I mean, that's what you need to do to get a reaction. But they may not even know, right? Because they're not going to be seeing clients who are self-representing. And the thing about the motion to dismiss, the first time I've ever even come across that was in this project.
Okay.
But I do.
Yeah, that was
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that was the feedback I got from our folks, is like I've never filled this out when talking about that form.
Yeah. So anyway, so I think I'm just sort of saying is maybe it's, I mean, don't give it like 50% weight, but it's something we should think about when we're picking forms going forwards. I still think it's incredibly, I mean, this form, I think, is fantastic. But we just need, I care deeply about these things. Pardon?
Yeah, we need an expert review. We can't.
Right.
I'm just feeling badly because of the fact that it's basically a blocker for Jack and Nick.
Also, it's really it's terrible directions. What I'm not sure of is if the court, I mean, if somebody becomes a judge, I mean, I don't understand why in some ways we can't get court staff. We're not asking them for any kind of advice. We're asking them, is this legal? Or even on this form, what's very confusing is when you file it, you have to say that you've already served the other party, which is incredibly confusing. And so certainly if I were going to file one of these, I would call the court and I'd say, how can I serve the other party? I don't have I mean, how do I do this? So maybe we could talk to somebody in the
I can ask them about what they want to, I mean, the easiest way to broach the issue probably though is to have a form or something and say, here's the form, all but ready, but we don't know how you want to handle service. How do you want to handle service?
Okay.
Maybe that could be our next step.
But family law motions, technically you're saying you've already served. You write it simultaneously and serve it simultaneously.
By the way, as far as coding goes, you can still go through the same process. I mean, you can learn, you're learning how to code. You can learn how to think about testing and write edge cases and write scenarios. You can learn how to review code. So I'm saying I know there's a big blocker there as far as the getting it out into the world, which is a major part of what we're doing. But I do want to say that it's not completely lost value.
Yeah, but that's the reward, you know.
It is a big reward. It's important.
I'd also say that if you can get it to a place that's good enough to share with the court, we can just be upfront with the court that we couldn't get a SME to tell us what to do with this, and we could say, what do you want us to do with it?
Okay,
that's a very good point.
All right,
you know, so it just means that, I mean, the problem is that our interactions with the court are that they're not going to, I don't expect them to be like on a back and forth conversation with us over, you know, tightly, you know, worked into the group. But we can have something and give it to them and get their response.
Okay, so there are two authors for Kids in the Law, one of whom is the co-chair of the Massachusetts Coalition of Juvenile Courts. She's a court employee. It has you know, I reached out to as many people as I could. I do think that they would be good people to talk to. And they don't cover this form either, or this concept.
Yeah.
So what if I reach out to them?
I think that would be appropriate to reach out to them. I'm also going to reach out to my contact and say, we're looking for CRA SMEs. Can they suggest one?
Okay. All right.
Then I think in the interim, so that Nick and Jack.
But yes, in the interim, you can keep moving, is what I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So as Michelle says, you can still apply your mind to the testing, and I think that, you know, you can make I think the general, what I've seen from reviews is that it doesn't actually doesn't hugely change your interview. So you could get started on writing the template scenario, thinking about the different scenarios that you want to have. And how I explained it to Sinead and Finola on the call now was that what you want to do in the scenarios is you want to have something that you want to have enough scenarios that populates the form completely, so you know that every single box gets checked and every single text box gets filled in the way that it should. That's a couple of scenarios, and then the balance of the scenarios will be making sure that the interview flows correctly. So things like does the other questions asked in order? Does the show if logic work? Things like that. So those are the things you're looking for when you're writing scenarios. It's not just a random, selection of things. You want to test those two main things, right? And it takes, I think, for the simple to automate forms we found with the TRO, it takes about 10 to 12 scenarios to kind of feel confident that your code is good.
And it should be, the scenarios should be reviewed. I mean, I can be one of the, I'm happy to volunteer for that.
Great.
Because part of the process isn't just let's put a bunch of inputs down. It's like thinking of edge cases. Like there's specific thinking you do when you're thinking about tests that is different. Well, so it should be the same when you're writing code, but often starts out as a different.
Okay, Michelle, process. I'm really glad that you volunteered with that, because I'm finding like I'm a little bit spread thin at the moment with trying to do the testing and then also develop my own stuff. So I think that perhaps if you could take over maybe, I've gone through Eleni, James, and Jason's first 2 scenarios, first 2.5 that they did. And for me, they look good knowing the contempt for complaint interview. But perhaps you could take them through it again and just see if you feel like they're on the right track, because I just went through it by myself. And then Finola and Sinead, if you guys could carry on doing some more scenarios tomorrow morning, and then you guys will be in a place where we can go through your scenarios and make sure that they're also, and as I said, guys, don't do like 20 scenarios at once, rather do a little bit each time and check in. And then Nick and Jack, I've created your CRA folder on the test case thing, and I linked it in the testers channel. Did you find it?
No, but I can go check right now. Is it the assembly line testing?
Yes, yeah, that's the one. So I pinned it's in a pinned message in the channel. It has your folder, which has a blank scenario sheet for you guys to fill in, and it also has a link to the precedent. So then you guys can get started on that today. Do the template first, then check in. Maybe the template and the inputs, sorry. And as I said in the call yesterday, the inputs, how you find what the inputs should be is by looking at your form, looking at the different text boxes that you have, and making an input for each text box, or a couple of inputs depending on what the test is.
For each element with which the user will interact with your form. So it's an input, or it's a checkbox, or it's help text.
Sorry, I'm specifically talking about the inputs though. The inputs sheet needs to just be text boxes.
I see. Sorry, I'm sorry, May.
So that's how you identify what needs to be and what you need to have inputs for, essentially. Nick is looking confused. Are you okay?
I'm actually looking on the assembly line testers channel, and I don't see this it's a spreadsheet, a Google spreadsheet. I don't see it.
1 second, I'm going to add you in it again. Okay.
And Nick, if you click at the top, it says pinned messages. It's like the top one.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, view pinned items. Okay.
So I'm going to leave you guys to do that, to do a template and to do your inputs.
Thank you.
And then we'll check in with you tomorrow. And as I said, parallel to that, we're trying to find you guys an expert, and otherwise we're going to follow the plan that's been discussed in this meeting already. Okay, Mike and Tyler. It's just Mike. I'm sorry that I missed that call. How was it with Gordon?
Oh, it was good. We just went through the website and just did some minor edits to the language, but other than that, it's pretty good to go. I sent Gordon the last minute edits that I made, and he's just going to go through it one more time, and then once it's done, then we're good to move on to the next stage,
which is testing. And now I've already made a folder for you. I'm not sure if I've added you in that one though, so I'll just check that. That's the motion to vacate default judgment. I'll make sure that you get a folder there as well. And the next step is, you were in that call yesterday about the testing, right?
Yeah, it was.
So the next step is basically the same as Nick and Jack, is to basically just create a template in the inputs and then reach out on the testing channel, and one of us will jump in and help you just to review it, make sure you're on the right track, and then the next step will be to write the actual scenarios.
Mm-hmm. And I think Tyler's been working that already, so it might be close to done.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay, great. Okay, then we've got Mia and Vinny, but it's just Mia. You guys said that you finished your test case template and that I need to have a look at that.
Yes.
So do you want to have a call later today and we'll just schedule that offline?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Do you think you had a call with Chandler yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, and it was super helpful. He's yeah.
Okay, so I'll just schedule that call with you guys offline.
Awesome.
Good job on doing that. Okay, so then the next one is Eleni, James, and Jason. Michelle, you're going to go through their test case templates and scenarios and inputs.
Yep, just give me some times. I mean, for them, Eleni and Jason and James. Yeah. And just message me.
Okay, so I'm going to leave that to you guys.
Some complex times today.
So can I leave it? I can really put between the three of you. Can you create a DM with Michelle and just liaise with her offline?
Yeah, sounds good.
Great, thanks, guys. As I said, I had a look at those first 2.5, and I think that you are on the right track. But having another set of eyes doesn't hurt. So, okay, then we've got Aubrey and Matt. So you had a meeting with David yesterday, and then Caroline's had a look at the. Okay, let's see. I think we can finish in 10 minutes. Ish. There was actually some. Maybe can I interrupt this quickly just to talk about the translation, David? So David's talking about translating. I finished my dinner, so I'm just gonna unmute permanently. So David's talking about translating that elements thing. So do we need to find Spanish translators to review those translations that were done by machine?
So this is just so I believe it looks like Kate's intern went in and did all the old ones. So there are just
between Kate and Edwin.
There are just 5 cells right now, which is mostly just Caroline's 209A language that we just want a Spanish version for. And then also it's basically Caroline's language plus the thing that says we're in private beta. That means if you need help, you should go to this Jane Doe link to find resources or call the safe link number. Otherwise, if you're interested in joining our private beta and you're a service provider, contact us.
So I'm going to reach out to the Spanish team members and see if there's anybody. Just out of interest, is there anybody on here who speaks Spanish? You won't be tasked with this task, don't worry. I'm not going to push it on you. You can raise your hand with ease. Okay, no one. Okay, I'll reach out to the Spanish team members and see who can do that for you, David.
It really is just 5 cells. It's very small.
Okay. Right, so that's just what I wanted to talk to you about. I think, okay, so back to Aubrey and Matt. You met with David yesterday and you made some updates to your form. And then Caroline has also had a look at the language. And I think that, it's a really good start for a first form. But I think that maybe some more, before we go to SME review, it might be a good idea just to go through it again. And I'm happy to do that with you guys, just with the tips that I've learned over the last few, just in terms of like language and stuff like that. So if you want to schedule a time with me offline, you can reach out and then we can do that at some point today. And then we can just text me or message me when you're available. Either both of you or one of you, it doesn't really matter. We'll make sure it's recorded. And try to make some more refinements and improvements, and then hopefully it'll be ready for like that. If we find an SME, otherwise we'll pass it over to Caroline, who's ready to take it on.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Of course. Good job, guys. Really impressive. And then we've got a new volunteer team member, Blake.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How's everyone else? No one else ever answers except for Nick. So Blake is also at Suffolk. I believe he's knows Mia and Jack. Is that correct?
Yeah, they were both in the same section as me.
Unfortunately.
Right. Okay. So so what we want to do, Blake, is we actually want to add you to a current team that's working on something. And I'm just trying to figure out who's the best team to add you to. And I was actually thinking about Aubrey and Matt because they are the most recently joined team members, and it might be they're quite early on in the process that it's the best team to join in terms of like getting the most knowledge of how it works. And then individually, I can just take you through the part that you missed on their form, if that's okay.
And Blake,
Yeah, that sounds great.
And Blake has some prior Python experience, so Code Academy class here or there, but he hasn't.
Than me.
But he hasn't gone through any of the doc assemble training yet. So I think the first thing Blake will need to do is he'll need links to those training Tuesdays.
So I think that's probably what we can do is at the stage we're at with Aubrey and Matt, it's more of like language and style and like changing the way we ask the questions and stuff like that. So that's beneficial. I think you can do that without actually having the DocAssemble knowledge per se. But I will link you first of all getting set up in DocAssemble, and then also the 4 teaching Tuesdays that we've had thus far. And there's also videos that David's done with new team members that are very beneficial. But I can also
I've recorded any of those.
No.
Yeah, those are all just there because they're replications of the Teaching Tuesdays.
You should still record them, David.
Yeah, I probably should. Well, but I've stopped doing them because Blake obviously didn't do it for Blake. I'm sorry, Blake.
Sorry, Blake. Blake, you've got me now. So, so what we'll do is we'll get you on that call with Aubrey and Matt. Maybe if Aubrey and Matt, if you could just create, maybe I'm looking at Aubrey. If you could just create a DM with Blake, yourself, me, and Matt, and we'll schedule a time for that call to go through what you guys have created. And Blake, you're going to join their team for this and then for the testing. And kind of parallel with that, you will be learning the development. I'll take you through, after you've gone through the DocAssemble training, I'll take you through kind of how we're doing it specifically in this project.
That sounds great. Okay,
perfect. And then last but not least, we've got Anvita, who has been working on the vacation of marital home testing. And Anvita, you asked me to check over your, I think you've done some scenarios, is that correct?
But I had to kind of stop halfway because it started to get complex where some screens only show up for, like, if you've selected certain answers early on, and I wasn't sure how to write that out.
Okay, so then I think what we're going to do is either between Michelle and I, we're going to find a time. My day from the rest of today is looking pretty chock-a-block, but and you have class this evening as well, probably, right?
Oh no, I only have class one day in every 2 weeks, so I'm good.
I wish I had your lecture. Okay, perfect. So then maybe could you just reach out to Michelle and I in a DM or on the channel, the testing channel, and between one of us, we'll be able to sit in with you and try and puzzle out how to ask those questions. Okay.
So I reach out to you separately or on the testing channel?
On the testing channel. Sorry, I didn't make that clear. Okay, so we'll look out for that message, and then between the two of us, we'll find a time before Standup tomorrow to go through that so that we can have some progress there. Okay, and then Lily, do you have any updates for us? We've got 4 minutes before this meeting ends. I think we did well today, David.
Hello.
Definitely went fast. Yep, so we can hear you, Lily.
All right. Okay. First, I have a question. I saw Karina and someone, Maria, had a question about multi-user signature.
Yeah.
So I remembered I posted a sample interview specifically for this scenario. So I went to the Slack, I was looking for my post, and it says I could not go beyond May 7th.
Right, we're full.
Yeah, so that's a kind of concern, I think. If we have something that we cannot access,
yeah. So as a general rule, like documentation stuff should be kept in like a Google Sheet documentation, so it doesn't like references so that you can get it so it doesn't disappear. Things that are not in private chats that were in public channels, we do actually have. It's just we can't get to them easily, and so we have a way that those are being archived, but we don't have a good way of searching or
to access them. Yeah.
But I can get them. It's hard.
Okay, all right. So at least someone can get to it. That's good. I think that was the very first post of the code channel. So just to give you a clue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What information are you looking for?
For Mariah and Caroline.
Interview that shows you how to do an interview that has person A completes the questions and then send a link to person B and say, you go log in and look at my file and then sign.
Okay. So
all right, try and find that. Would it be stored anywhere else, Lily?
It's in the channel, code channel.
That's the only place it will be.
Yeah, that's the only place that I posted.
Okay. And do you have it anywhere on your computer by any chance?
On my local computer, I do have a copy.
Could you perhaps post that in the code channel again? Because what I'm actually doing is I'm just basically taking every question and every answer in the code channel and every resource that gets put there and putting it in a handbook that I still need to edit. So it doesn't look huge, but it's functional. And also it means that we're not losing that stuff. So unfortunately, I only started doing that after that message was gone, obviously. But if you could just DM that to me, then I'll make sure that it's included in that handbook.
Yeah, I can definitely give you the files, except I don't remember the comments I made during when I was doing the posting, because I had some thoughts that went along with those interviews. So now I know there's a docx version, then there's another a PDF version.
Yeah, the files are important to keep though, because those we don't necessarily have after so we get everything in the public channels that was typed in the public channels, but not necessarily all the files.
What do you mean by public channel? I thought the coded channel.
Yes, the public channel is a public channel, okay, but we don't get attachments.
Oh, okay. So I just needed to give you the files, then you can find the original comments. Is that right?
I could find the original comments if we think they're really useful and we can't recreate them some other way.
Yeah.
David has a hard stop right now.
It's relevant. I remember there were some details. Now I don't recall exactly what kind of details, but I knew at the time I was struggling with something, so I posted it. That I don't have a backup for it.
Okay, but that'll be in the archive. So what I think what we're doing is we're saying that we can. Okay, bye, Quentin. David also has to jump off now as well. Lily, I'm actually going to reach out to you on Slack about this. Okay.
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 Good job,
we'll talk tomorrow,
everybody.
guys.